These are the 3 secrets to selling your home for the most amount of money that buyers don't want you to know. So this is a story about how 2 properties that are very similar in the same neighborhood listed the exact same price, yet one sold for significantly under asking price and the other sold for more. This video is going to answer why and how is this even possible. So regardless if you're selling your home now or sometime in the future, if you stick with us, by the end of this short video, you'll be ahead of 99% of all other homeowners thinking about selling their home. You're going to learn secrets about selling your home for the highest price that 99% of all licensed real estate agents don't even know. These are strategies that took us years to learn as top realtors that specialize in marketing homes for sale, and after selling tons of homes, we have proven that they work time and time again by getting our clients very close to what they ask for or more. It's like Nicole from Melbourne. We listed her home at $425,000 and we ended up selling it for $425,000. Or like Jason from Satellite Beach. We originally listed their home for $550,000 and it sold for $545,000. Or like Jeff, where we listed for $325,000 and sold for $320,000. We're going to show you in this video exactly how we are able to do this. So why did we make this video? It's really simple. Our goal is to give you a real behind the scenes look into how we are able to get our clients these type of results and why so many other homes not just fail to sell, but they sell for significantly under the asking price. So you owe us nothing, but obviously our goal is that hopefully one day, if you do decide to sell, that we have the opportunity to interview for the job of selling your home. And if you stick with us, by the end of this video, we do have a special gift for you and you're going to get it for 100% free. So let's start with something super simple and then we'll get a little bit more advanced. So we know the driver of home prices is supply and demand. And what we know about this is really, really simple. Obviously, if supply is low and demand is high, you get a higher price for your home. On the contrary, if supply is high and the demand is low, you get a lower sales price. I mean, everybody knows that. The question is, however, how do we create a situation where we have more demand for your home than there is supply, regardless of what's going on in the market? Well, let's start with secret number 1, which is price bracketing. So meet Brian and Lisa. These are home buyers that are approved to purchase a home up to $600,000. Meet Jill. She's a home seller whose home is worth about $530,000 to $550,000. Now, when we look at how buyers search for homes, this is what they do. They go to their favorite real estate website, and inside of that website, they search for properties for sale in whole numbers. As an example, like you can see on the screen, a typical home search for buyers that are approved up to $600,000 might search for homes between $550,000 and $600,000. What buyers don't do is they don't look for properties in odd numbers. They would never search for homes, nor did the portal let you with some random numbers of say 547,650 to 654,320. They would never do that. I mean, what's the point? And here's a mistake that most agents and most homeowners are making when they go to sell their home. They'll list their home with the famous $999 at the end. And in this case, for Jill, just as an example, let's pretend her home was listed at $549,999. I mean, you see this all the time when you're searching for homes. This is a massive mistake, and here's why. So the seller is looking for a $550,000 buyer, right? Well, like we just talked about, buyers, potential home buyers are searching on real estate portals for properties in whole numbers. And so if buyers are searching for homes between $550,000 to $650,000, this poor home seller who has their home listed at $549,999, who is looking for a $550,000 buyer, doesn't even show up on the buyer search. In other words, this buyer doesn't even know this home is a potential for them. It doesn't even show up on their radar. Why? Because most agents and the homeowners didn't know any better. So what should Jill do? Well, the first really, really simple strategy is to list the property directly on a whole number and specifically on price brackets, which we're going to talk a lot about here in just a minute. So if Jill changes the price from $549,000 to $550,000, here's what would happen. She would instantly double the amount of demand on her home overnight. Look at what happens. If she were to change the price, all of the potential buyers searching for homes not only from 500,000 to 550,000, which is what every real estate portal has you do in whole numbers, she would also show up as a potential property for those home buyers. And because of her pricing strategy, she might be the best home in that bracket. Well, here's what also happens. The buyers that are searching from 550,000 to 600,000, she also shows up in that pool of homes for those buyers. So by simply pricing on whole numbers on a major buyer bracket, the homeowner is able to double the demand for their home. And what do we know about demand? As demand goes up and supply goes down, it drives the price of the home up. So now that we understand price bracketing a little, which is very simple, the next big mistake agents and sellers make is not knowing how to properly position the home in the marketplace. So let's go ahead and talk about secret number 2, which is positioning. So here's just an example. Let's just say that the property's value is $535,000. Well, step 1 is to do what we call an active demand analysis. In other words, we have to see where in the marketplace are the buyers who are actively looking for homes right now. Where are they shopping? What price bracket do we have the most demand? So the way we do this for our clients is we first do the TAM, or the total adjustable market. And so if a property was valued at $535,000 and there would be a buyer looking at that range, their total home search range is probably around $100,000. So in this case, it would be $500,000 to $600,000. So what we do is we look and see how many pending sales or closed sales are going on right now in that entire price bracket. Well, based on a little research and some of the reporting that we do for our clients, we find out that there's 43 pending homes in that price bracket. And then what we do is break that down by price brackets. A price bracket is typically $25,000 increments. So price brackets will be that of the same of home portals. So this is going to match that. So 500,000 to 525 would be one, 525 to 550 would be one, and so on and so forth. And what we would find in this example is that the bracket of 550,000 to 575,000, this is where we're seeing the most amount of buyer activity right now, or about 39% of all pending sales are happening in that specific price bracket. The next closest is down from that at 525 to 550,000. So what does that mean? Well, if that's what demand looks like, the next thing we have to do is look at the supply. And we're trying to analyze where are we best aligned to position the property such that it becomes the obvious choice. Well, if we look at the pending sales, we said that 550,000 to 575,000 has the highest demand. Well, the next thing we want to do is say, well, where's the lowest supply? Based on that price bracket between 500,000 and 600,000, there are 18 total homes for sale. Now, when we break that down into 4 price brackets, we can see that ironically, 550,000 to 575,000 has the lowest amount of active homes. In other words, the supply in the very same bracket that has the highest demand has the lowest. And so therefore, we can see that if this property was positioned in the bracket of 550,000 to 575,000, it would capture the largest pool of buyers. In this case, 71% of every buyer looking for a home between 525,000 to 550,000 and 550,000 to 575,000, and the home positioned in the price bracket with the lowest amount of supply. This is the analysis that must be done on every property before the property ever hits the market. Now, how do we make sure that when your home hits the market, that it would stand out as the obvious choice, the one where buyers see it and they look at your house like a magnet, comes to your home immediately and write you a great offer? Well, in secret number 3, we're going to talk about time versus money. So we have to understand, how do buyers actually make decisions to write an offer, and not just an offer? How do we strategically place a property in the market such that the buyer's offer represents their highest and most likely offer that you will accept? Well, the first thing is time. And so here's kind of a quick run through of what this looks like. We know that homes that sell faster than others will end up netting more money. And the exact opposite is also true, that homes that sit on the market for a longer period of time, on average, end up selling for a lot less money. So as an example, this home that's listed at $550,000, if it sells in the first day, it will sell for over asking price. Let's just say that one ends up selling for $567,000. Let's say the average days on market is 14 days for this specific neighborhood, and it sells in twice the amount of time. It's been on the market for 30 days. Well, it's going to sell for under asking price. It's going to sell for $532,000. And I mean, why is this? Well, think about it yourself. If you were to walk into a home on the first day that it hits the market and you fall in love with that property and you say, I want this property, what type of offer do you think you'd have to write in order for the seller to accept an offer on their first day? It's probably going to have to be extremely strong. And the exact opposite is also true. If you walk into a property where the average time that it takes to sell the home is, let's just say, 14 days, and you go walk in that property and it's been on the market for 30 days, you probably have a lot more negotiation power. I mean, that only makes sense. So obviously, you want to be the seller where the buyers are competing for your home and you are not competing for the buyer. Well, let's just talk about how we do that. So let's pretend again you're the buyer. We're trying to understand, how does the buyer make decisions? So here's how we stand out as the obvious choice. We're going to do what we call an active listing analysis, and I'll show you how it works, and then we'll do a real one together. So let's just pretend you're looking at two homes, and the one you like, it has more features and benefits than the other one. It might have, whatever you like. It has a pool, an outdoor oasis, etc. If that property was more than the other one, in your mind as a buyer, you might say from a motivation standpoint, yeah, I could see that. I could justify paying more for it. I mean, it has more. Certainly, I'd be willing to pay a little more. But if it was the same price as the other property, motivation probably increases. It'll be like, wow, this I really might act on even sooner with more urgency. But if it was a property that you loved and it had more features and benefits than the other home that was for sale and it was at a lower price, motivation goes through the roof. I mean, that only makes sense. Well, let's look at the next example. The home that you like has the same features and benefits as the other home that you looked at. And if it was a higher price, but it had the same features and benefits, you're probably not that excited about it. However, if it was the same price, it has the same features and benefits, very justifiable. If it was at a lower price and had the same, of course, your motivation goes up. And then lastly, of course, if a home has less features and benefits, but it's the one you like, if it had a higher price, you'd probably be like, I just don't understand. How is this even possible? The other home has more, you want more money, your motivation to purchase a home goes down. If it's the same price, but has less features and benefits, same thing, motivation goes down. However, if it has less and it's a lower price, it becomes the obvious choice. This is the concept that buyers go through when they write offers on properties with real estate professionals. So when we look at this active competition analysis, and we've got this one on Bird, and it's nicer. It's at 575,000. We got this one on ActAv. It's not as nice at 550,000. And then we got the one on Liz. It's the exact replica of our house. What price do we think we would need to be to become the obvious choice so that all these buyers and all the brackets that are searching for homes, they're going to showings, they're going to open houses. How do we stand out from the crowd such that when buyers are looking at these 4 homes, that these homes help us sell versus the exact opposite? Well, it's clear that if we price it 550,000 and we have a little bit less to offer than Bird Street, it makes sense. We have much more to offer than this one on ActAv. We're the same price, and this house that is identical to ours is asking for more money. This is how we become the obvious choice. This will also instantly double the demand on our home. We talked about this before. If we price directly at 550,000, we're going to attract buyers that are searching for homes between 500,000 and 550,000. We'll show up in that search, and we'll show up in the search for the buyers that are looking at a little bit more expensive homes of 550,000 to 600,000, where we become a really good option for people that are looking at a higher price point. So the end result is this. Remember Jill, the home seller? So she had the home value of 535,000 to 550. She strategically positions her home in the marketplace at 550,000, going through all 3 of these strategies that we just talked about. And on the 3rd day on the market, because of the strategy, she's able to produce 13 showings on her home in 3 days and 3 offers. And here's what we know. When there are multiple offers on a home and the buyers compete for this property, remember supply and demand, there's only one home that 3 families want. When we have more demand than there is supply, the price of the home goes up. So remember Brian and Lisa, the homeowners that were approved up to 600,000? They placed the offer and won the home based on its features and benefits and pricing strategy, and they end up getting the home at 567,000. Jill is happy, Brian and Lisa are happy, and this is the end result of going through all these strategies step by step. This is how 2 homes that are extremely similar in the exact same neighborhood end up selling for a lot less than the asking price, and how one ends up selling for over asking price. So let's go ahead and recap what we've learned. Number 1, we talked about how buyers actually search for homes and how you can instantly double the amount of buyer exposure on your home. This is how we get more buyers, which creates competition for your property. Number two, we talked about where to position your home in the market so that regardless of market conditions, regardless of interest rates, you always have more buyer demand for your home than you do competition from other homes that are for sale. This will drive the price of your home up. And lastly, we talked about how to make your home stand out as the obvious choice to buyers so that multiple buyers start to compete with one another for your home, ultimately resulting in a higher sales price and better terms for you. So what's next? Well, as promised, if you've made it this far, we have a special gift for you. So regardless if you're ready to sell your home now or sometime in the future, we would love to provide you with what we call a detailed home sale analysis. This analysis will show you, number one, a detailed pricing strategy that will maximize the sales price of your home. Number two, it's going to include a custom supply and demand audit. We will go through the entire marketplace and provide you with this audit. Number three, this analysis will include the active competition analysis. We will go through the homes that you would compete with right now, and we will go through an active competition analysis to see what we would have to do to make your home stand out. And then lastly, you'd get a seller profit report. We'll break down all the numbers so that as you're planning your move, you get a really good idea of how much money you have to work with after you've sold your home. So the next step is really simple. If you want us to provide you with one of those, just click the link underneath this video. You could just fill out a couple of details and we can get to work for you right away.